Welcome back to the Income Generation. I'm David Scranton, and I'm here with my good friend Jeff Small, and also a great friend of the Income Generation, Steve Forbes, Chairman, CEO, Editor-in-Chief at Forbes Media. Steve has written several best-selling books, and he's also campaigned for the presidency twice. Steve, thanks so much for being back with us on the Income Generation.
Good to be with you both. Thank you.
So give us your general views on dividend-based investing in the stock market for your average income generation member.
Well, in this time of zero interest rates, where you need a microscope sometimes to find it, and where you have to go way, way, way on the risky side on bonds to get a real yield, dividends seem made to order. And the nice thing is you can pick stocks that have dividends that increase each year or have a history of increasing. And we all know when times are tough, dividends may be cut, but the cuts are not nearly as bad as the cut in equity value, and dividend stocks keep coming back. They're ideal for retirement accounts. So the nice thing about dividends, David, is you get cash, not the promise of a gain. You have real cash in hand. That's nice.
Love that explanation, Steve. Jeff Small here. Hey, what's the biggest thing, though, that typical investors don't understand about dividend investing?
Well, I think that dividends sometimes can seem slow compared, especially when you have the kind of volatility we've had in the market recently. We've seen the huge increase in high-tech stocks. But the thing about dividends is it's not a bond, it's not a preferred stock. It is something where the equity value can increase as well. You take Apple, that doesn't have much of a yield, under 1%. But if you'd bought it 5 or 6 or 10 years ago, it's a juicy yield because the company grew. And so you got, even though the dividend seems small in terms of yield, it is actually on your original investment very, very good indeed. Far better than anything you would have found from junk bonds and the like. So again, pick a good stock that has real growth opportunities, and dividends do come along. Someday I predict even Amazon will pay a dividend. But look at Microsoft. For years, they didn't pay a dividend. Now they've had both equity, a nice boost, and also the dividend compared to the price you would have paid 10 or so years ago. Looks very nice, too.
So, Steve, you wrote an article recently about why Congress should not propose or enact a ban on short selling. Why would that be a mistake?
Because short selling is a way of bringing reality back to the marketplace, or at least temper animal spirits that can sometimes dominate the marketplace. We all know emotions run wild in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. And so if you think that equities or some other instrument is going up too far in value, it's really no different than selling the stock, but only in this case, you borrow the stock, taking the huge risk. But you borrow the stock and then sell it, but you have to pay that stock back. And if the stock goes up, you're going to take a huge loss. And as you well know, with short selling, the losses can be infinite. Whereas typical investing, buying long, you can only lose what you put in. But short selling does have a place in the market. And the idea that they can dominate the marketplace, well, we've seen recently that ain't true. No matter how big you are, there are a lot of other investors out there who are going to play off of you.
Sounds like to some degree what you're saying is if you try to remove the animal spirits from the stock market, in some ways it's not really even the stock market anymore, right?
Well, that's it. And emotions are your enemy. And it's amazing how, David, each generation, we have to have a new slew of investors learn that what goes up rapidly can go down rapidly. And stocks really are just discounted cash flow of future income streams, as you well know. And that's why you try to look for companies that have durability, because those are the ones who can give you cash returns in the future and growing cash returns. That's, again, right, about picking good dividend stocks is your income grows.
Right, an inflation hedge, absolutely. We need to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll have much more in terms of words of wisdom from our good friend, Steve Forbes. Stay with us right here on The Income Generation. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Income Generation. It's great to be here with you all. I'm Dave Scranton. I'm here with Jeff Small and a good friend of The Income Generation, Steve Forbes, Chairman, CEO, Editor-in-Chief at Forbes Media, and also someone who has campaigned for the presidency twice. And Steve, we get some time before we end. We'll ask you one political question, but getting back to our conversation about dividends, is there a better time or a worse time to invest for dividends in the stock market if you're part of the income generation?
I think in terms of dividend investing, if you it's always a good time, but you just have to be careful of it. Just don't look at yield, because if a company is maturing and not competing, that dividend will be in jeopardy. So you got to look behind the curtain, so to speak, to make sure you've got a company that has good cash flow that can increase the dividend each year. And sometimes you're going to pick a clunker, but if you have a decent spread of a portfolio, again, those dividends will rise and you'll feel very good about it. But the thing is, even when you have a terrible bear market, such we had in 2008, 2009, the whack in dividends was nothing like what happened to the value of stocks. And the dividend stocks came back, and so did the dividends. And that's why you want a vibrant economy, because that means profit. And the nice thing about dividends means the company is sharing those profits with you in a very tangible way.
So speaking of a vibrant economy, Steve, in the past shows we've talked about taxes and politics, but last night I paid $2.85 at the pump. Energy prices are up 70 cents, $1.25 at the pump itself. And so at what point does that start to hurt a vibrant economy?
Well, it's hurting. It's going to take a bite right now. We do have an economy that I think is ready to roar, in the sense that people, after a year of shutdowns, lockdowns, told to be careful and all that sort of thing to cope with this terrible pandemic, people, I think, are ready to have some fun again, get out, intermingle, travel. So I think the economy will do well. But one of the big dangers out there is inflation. The Federal Reserve is going to be printing a lot of money. Washington is spending money like never before in peacetime have we seen this scale of spending. And they don't think there are any consequences to all this money printing, but there will be. And with the dividend stocks, by the way, everything will be hurt by inflation, but a good company will be able to make profits. In real terms, it may not be what it was before, but you're going to still get that income stream that'll be better protection against inflation than even inflation bonds, those bonds that the government sells, hedging for inflation. The way the formula works, I think you do better with a good portfolio of dividend-paying stocks that have a history of rising.
Yeah, I agree completely, Steve, with that comment about the inflation bonds. So I can't help myself. I have to talk to you about politics just a little bit, because one of the big benefits of investing for stocks, in dividend stocks with a higher income taxpayer, is that the dividends have preferential treatment. Do you think under the Biden administration there's a chance that that can go away or get significantly reduced, that dividend tax benefit?
Well, that's the thing. Everything is at jeopardy with this administration, including a slew of new taxes like wealth taxes, carbon taxes, which will raise the cost of energy even more than what we've been experiencing so far. Yeah, that's a danger. And that's why I think we have to be active politically. We've got a 50-50 Senate, and we've got to make sure the GOP holds out, preserves the filibuster, so the Democrats can't steamroll these bad things, and make sure that certain Democrats, like Tester of Montana, Senator Sinema of Arizona, and Senator Manchin of West Virginia, hold the line on some of these excesses. So sadly, nothing is permanent, but you got to make sure that they don't take that away, and because they're going to do a lot of other damage to the economy, and that's why we got to make sure they don't take away these things that make investing remain worthwhile.
Steve, what are your final thoughts that you'd like to have our income generation members know about your philosophy about investing for people in that age group?
Well, in terms of investing, you got to realize emotions are your enemy. So with your retirement accounts, depending on whether you're drawing them down or not, I think you just take the cautious approach. Don't try to be a market timer. Continue to do sound things, and over time you'll do fine. Even with this administration messing things up, eventually they'll be replaced if they mess things up. This country eventually gets back on track. And in the meantime, with your portfolio, Keep a cash reserve. Yes, we know the cash doesn't earn anything these days. Maybe have a little bit of gold as a hedge, not as an investment, but as a hedge.
Sure.
And then have sound equities, and you'll ride the storm through. The problem is everyone that says, oh, yeah, I'm a disciplined investor, then the market goes down. You say, oh, is it too late to get out? Maybe I should take more off the table. Emotions reign. So just remember, emotions are your enemy, and have a portfolio that you can be comfortable with at night, including that cash reserve.
Yep. And if you do happen to find one of those clunkers you referred to a moment ago in your portfolio, don't beat yourself up too badly, because even the professionals pick clunkers every once in a while. Steve, thanks so much for being here with us on The Income Generation. It's been great having you. Our pleasure once again.
Thank you. Thank you, David, and thank you, Jeff.